Hello and welcome everyone to WIldin Out. Hyperin's taking the week off. He's been busy, so I will be hosting. I'm sure none of you mind that. You're all used to hearing me anyway from last season. So, joining me this week, Dr. Fish is the operator and co-host. Fish, glad to have you.
I'm
And
glad to be here.
Thanks. And we also have Jordan MG. How you doing, gamer?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
to hear.
Pretty good.
Mhm.
Well, we have a lot to discuss. There were nerfs earlier today, really, and because of that, deadlines are pushed back. So we don't have previews, but we do have something else: player power rankings later on tonight. But first, as always, we have our player of the week. Vish, who do you have as our player of the week?
All right. So for this week, if I can find it, our player of the week is WTF's own Blood Rose. So needing a win to secure the week for his team, and take down the previously undefeated Zarella's Disciples, Blood Rose got a 3-2 win over Triple Lift and put WTF on top of them, or put them over XD for the week and take second place in the Brown Conference. So keep up the great work, everyone over on that team.
Yeah, congratulations to Blood Rose there. With that, now we have a meta overview to go over. So let's head on over to that page and we'll take a look. So the first thing I want to point out at the top left of this chart, Demon Hunter actually has Dex this week, or had Dex last week. That's mostly because of aggro Demon Hunter. It's starting to appear. Seemed pretty good. Problem now is that
Dex kind of got me.
That was a long life there.
Oh man, I didn't even get to ladder with it.
Yeah, it got hit twice today.
Hmm.
So, not sure what's going to happen there. But it was cool to see it for a week. The class was alive and well compared to Warrior, which, not saying a lot, but it's more than nothing. For Druid, Cthulhu Druid still at the top, but there's a ton of variety within the class. You know, you got Togwaggle, Dragon, Druid, also known as DN Druid by many. Mechathune, Linecracker, Token. You know, you just have all kinds of builds. Hunter, Quest Hunter actually halved in population for the week. But other Hunter decks are starting to appear instead. Okay, we got a lot of Beast Hunter, we have a Reno Hunter, a few Even Hunters. Those are mostly counter the combo strategies. Combo is fairly popular, it seems, right now in Conquest. So Even Hunter has a nice little place in the meta as a result. You don't really see it on ladder, but you see it a lot more in Conquest. Mage. Remember that combo I was talking about? This is where a lot of it comes from. Quest Mage is now the most popular mage deck, overtaking Mech Mage. Just under 20 brings. So, doing strong there. Paladin. It's mostly Mech Paladin still. There's some Reno Paladin. Reno Paladin goes up and down in popularity. It wasn't doing well in stats for the last few weeks, but hasn't shied people away, it seems, with 7 people bringing it last time. Priest. This is still mostly a one-trick. Inner Fire Priest, 15 brings. A few very fringe brings otherwise. Aggro Priest, Giants Priest, you know. Still surprised people are bringing Giants Priest, to be honest, but more power to them. If they're winning with it, great.
Pace.
Rogue.
Only pace.
Yeah, only pace. You know, this is probably a good time to mention Pace's ratio. Man, he thought that commenting on some nobody's tweet was a good idea, and got hit with what? A ratio of what, 20 likes? 30? Something like that?
Oh, God.
Poor guy even deleted it because he felt so bad, but we can't forget.
That's a real L plus ratio.
Ratioed out of the week, too, is being subbed for.
Damn.
Well, back to this, though. Rogue, Pirate Rogue is the most popular deck in the format right now. At 38 brings, 11 bans. But there's other stuff going on too. People are starting to bring Pillager Rogue now. This is mostly due to several people showing ladder success with it. Okay, I know there were a few tweets of the deck doing well in High Legend, so no surprise that people are bringing it as a result on top of the usual suspects. Max. Sorry. For Shaman, Frog Shaman, actually now the most popular deck. Free Shaman, though, is still eating more bans. Wouldn't be surprised if Frog Shaman dropped below Free Shaman's popularity now, because just like Demon Hunter, it was hit by Drekthar nerfs, so the deck is going to lose quite a bit of power in losing its high roll now.
Yeah.
Warlock, probably the most popular class to bring in the game right now, or in Wild, I should say, on the standard. Lots of even lock. Even lock also eating a lot of bans. A third of the time gets banned. Mine Warlock seeing play. Mechathune as well. And a few other fringe archetypes. We even see a Murloc Warlock, which we'll talk a bit more about later. And finally, Warrior. It seems like most people gave up on Pirate Warrior, but there's a bunch of different variants of Control Warrior. See, 2 just straight up Control Warriors, DMH Warrior, and an Odd Warrior. 2 of those even ate up the ban. So, pretty interesting to see. Maybe there's something there. But for now, it stays
or just
fringe.
a wild counter queue lineup.
Yeah, most likely just counter queues, but who knows? I know some people have been trying to break from the depths for a minute now. Doesn't seem to be there, but who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of Control Warrior and From the Depths, we have a Control Warrior list here without From the Depths, which I find interesting.
Tell us about this.
Yeah, and this took me like a good 3 or 4 looks at to figure out what was going on here. Because at first I saw like the Rokara Shield Satyr stuff, and I assumed it was like gonna kind of mimic the standard builds. But then I look at like the middle of the deck, and there's like no From the Depths, and there's like none of the other stuff you do. And instead, they're going for just like lots of removal, board clears, killing with bombs, and then bombs if that doesn't work, you just hope the rat gets there in the combo mirror matchups. But it's very interesting. I kind of like it. The bombs are a neat way to try to kill the combo decks from hand. Kind of mimic like what like the rogue could do if you don't have a board, and then obviously you just destroy all the board-based decks probably just on a matter of your control cards, and then sometimes maybe you scam combo. Kind of want to try this now, but I imagine it's still got maybe a little bit of work to do. Who knows?
No.
Well, to be fair, we only feature a deck if the person won.
Yeah, Jules won with this. Yeah.
Oh, I believe this can win games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the meta might need some work for this to find a home.
Well, either way.
Very cool, though.
Yeah, and it wins games, as we saw. So,
yeah. The bombs and the Rokar and ways to actually kill your opponent makes the deck, I'm sure, a lot better. Because winning games is better than losing games.
Absolutely.
And to set it better, by golly.
Hey, so we have another deck that we mentioned earlier that we're featuring. Want to tell us about that one?
Yeah. So the second deck we're featuring is Schmoopy Daddy's Murloc Warlock. So shout outs to, I guess, the buffs we got. Some of these will be a little bit better, potentially, but it kind of just uses the fact that there's Crab Rider, Lushwater Scout. There's a lot of ways to quickly blitz out these Murlocs. I feel like this type of deck really gets its legs from like Sea Devil Stinger, Gigafin, essentially stuff like that. And Gorlock Ravager just like helps you kind of stay in with your constant ability to play Murlocs. Stinger Gigafin is definitely kind of the thing that would help you put away a game, essentially, and help you with your help you keep your Crab Riders up. And then you have like potentially big Blue Witter Gills, and things like that to keep you just be able to get through and get the damage in. And Schmoopy was able to win with it this last week. It's a pretty cool looking deck, honestly. It reminds me of like one of my first ever Hearthstone decks, so I kind of really appreciate this deck.
Yeah, Jordan would be happy to know that Shmoopy brought another deck
He
that
did.
you're very favored
Repping the
towards.
Ignite Mage,
He
dude.
brought. Oh, he did
Incredible.
bring the Ignite. Okay, that was the Ignite
He's
bringer.
trying out he's trying out a new 5 Ice Block Ignite Mage where you run like Savara and Arcanologist so that you actually play the Ice Block from hand.
Mm.
Yeah,
Try to like Savara more Ice Blocks. It's interesting.
yeah,
But yeah,
for
this
sure.
deck this deck on paper should be really good, right? Because it's got like really powerful things, right? You got a big 8-drop that like eats your opponent's board. You got a way to like cheat out mana by using health instead, and you've got like what 4 cards that say charge, 3 cards that say charge, and a bunch of buffs. Like, can definitely win games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think EPT Hopper in chat can confirm, since this is something he's worked on for a long time as well.
Yeah,
This was
there's still so much gas in this deck with the Chumbuck, and now you get Huge Murloc just play 1 a turn, just playing even lock all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of staying power. So
Awesome.
very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now on to the match recaps. First up, I want to cover Green Conference standings. If you look, we have F12 Viridian at the top, but they are not featured on the left or right. This is because they gained 15 points already this week. 3 matches were already played, and they won the week as a result. So take those away, and they end up in 3rd place. That means Sunken Shakers and Zeril's Disciples get their logos on the top left and top right, much to my dismay.
Hey, at least you don't have to play this week. You're already a winner. You just kind of just chill. No pressure.
Well, I still have to submit.
Right.
And who knows what can happen.
Go for more points, but no pressure is nice.
Yeah, we have quite a bit to take in here. Even with the 15 points, it only puts them 1 point ahead of currently 2nd place Sunken Shakers. Goes to show how far ahead the Shakers are right now. And they're still 8 points above 3rd place, Zeril's Disciples. So very well done by them, especially with the hardest schedule in the conference. Super impressive. Then we get to Anduin's Playboy Mansion, APM, all Aussie team, in 4th at 62 points. A tie at 5th and 6th between Bash Bros and Copium Clan at 49 points apiece. And the Worgen Greasers just below at 46 points. So we have 2 matches to cover from the Green Conference. Fish, want to get the first one?
Yeah, for sure. So first match we've got is Sunken Shakers versus Copium Clan, and yeah, this one wasn't very close. It's a full sweep for the Sunken Shakers concerning match wins. Copium Clan only getting 6 points, which is still pretty decent considering they lost every match when really your maximum at that point is 10 points. So at the top, 6J, I believe went to 4-0 with a sweep of tempo. Super Sub Based Inc. Wins 3-2 over Kismet. Base is 3-0 in her sub appearances. For Christ, or my boy Seth, he won 3-1 over Glare. In a little bit of new captain versus old team. And then Hopper with a 3-1 win over Nerbelke. And then Tiger Eye taking a 3-2 over Cherub, who came in as a sub. So
yeah, massive win by the Shakers there. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why they're so far ahead right now.
Yeah.
On to the next. We have Zeril's Disciples versus WTF. XD was coming in undefeated, 3-0. WTF 1-2, needed a big win, and they pulled through. 15-12 here. Martian falling 1-3 against Nops. Nops now 3-0. This was a special match because they actually did what they called Mega Highlander, which means only 1 card in their entire lineup. So
yes.
120 unique cards. No duplicates throughout the entire lineup.
Yeah, and that's what.
Hyperin. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, Hyperin getting a win 3-1 over Pigpen. He already played this week. That's why he has a 5-0. But he was 4-0, undefeated at that point. Pigpen was not with the team at first, but now a permanent sub. I believe over Dr. BOMD. So he'll be a mainstay. Now 1-1. Julio taking a 3-2 win over Labore Sangre. OTZ coming off of an MVP season. Seems like he has the MVP curse right now. 1-3 on the season. Also losing 1-3 against Schmoopy Daddy and his featured decks. And then finally, Blood Rose, our player of the week, getting a 3-2 win over Triple Lift to seal the deal. Congrats to WTF. That's putting them really high up in the standings, much higher than they've normally been in the last few seasons. So, playoffs very much in reach.
Definitely.
Any other comments on the Green Conference before we move on?
Nope. No, I'm good.
All right, let's move on. Brown Conference standings. Jordan, tell us about this.
Yes, Brown Conference. In first place, we have Bread Likely, followed closely by WTF. They're each at least a little small chunk above the rest. Then we have F2L Celadon and Woksh in the middle, followed by Weasel Tunnelers, Round Earthers Going to Work, and World Shakers rounding out the back. This conference, at least to me, looks like it's a lot closer in terms of the spread. There's not as many high rollers and low rollers. There's no like 40 versus 80 like in the other conference. They're all kind of chilling around the 50 to 60s, with Bread Likely just being that little bit ahead. So really, like at this point, any of these teams I think could easily make playoffs, and I think their team records show that, right? They're all basically 2-2 or slightly off of that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. There are no teams that are 2-2 in the Green Conference, but we have 3 in the Brown Conference.
Yeah. Very close conference right now.
Absolutely.
Does the for those who don't know, including myself, is the AOS column in terms of strength of schedule so far?
Yes.
Is that what that is?
Essentially.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better as the as a woke team member. About
your team has had a brutal schedule, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, your schedule gets easier. Don't worry.
All right.
I hope.
Yeah. So we have F2L Celadon versus the Weasel Tunnelers for our first matchup. We previewed this last week, and for good reason. It's turned out to be a tie. This is our first tie of the season, 13-13. Rear Cat staying undefeated, taking a 3-1 win over Ataraxial. Ataraxial also having a fantastic season last time. Still 3-1, very respectable. Rebob took a 3-2 win over Mortal Wombat. Tachi taking a 3-1 win over Nine Eyebrows. Swagwar taking a 3-2 win over Skittles. And then Righteous Jammies getting a DQ win over Mediocre. I want to mention it's a DQ win mostly because of an emergency. So not a ton that could be done there. But as you can see, these DQs do matter because they gave the Weasel Tunnelers the tie rather than the loss. So
that's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can, make your matches. And if something comes up, try to get us up if possible. Obviously, there's emergencies and there's not a ton you can do in those situations. But when you can, definitely get that sub. Jordan, we have one other match to talk about here.
We do. We have the world. Yeah, we have the World Shakers versus Round Earthers Going to Work. A couple of the teams running out the bottom currently, starting to fight, get into the top. And a very close match, as is similar to the last one, similar to this whole conference, really. World Shakers take it 14-12, led by Snapper in the 1 seed, beating Lasagna, which I'm impressed by because my one loss came to Lasagna. Good for you. The 2nd seed, we have Gumby beating Battle Tagger, another opponent that's hard to beat. Sinferno in the 3rd seed takes on Tom and loses there. Devalian beats Mr. Luke 98 in the 4th seed, and then Pers loses to Cresselia in the 5th seed. So, like, Yeah, I mean, they were like, what, 1 or 2 games from a tie? I mean, that's could have gone either way. When you get these 3 O's and then you like still win or tie when you lose less of the majority, feels really good. You pull up the tie losing 3 of the 5 head-to-heads. They were close to doing that this week.
Absolutely.
Very interesting decks on here. Kingsbane Rogues, Aggro Priests. And then there's just like a whole lot of like the same in the top lineups. But
Ooh, cute lock.
yeah.
Man, that deck's pretty broken.
There's a few gems on there. A few gems for sure. Big fan of the aggro DH. Just sticks out like a sore thumb in there.
It actually drew the ban.
Yeah.
So there's the one ban was against Tom.
Aggro DH, long lived.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the Brown Conference. I think the story here is that it's very close and keep fighting.
For sure.
I would agree.
We're not even halfway through the season, so lots of week left.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, should be interesting to follow. With that, we have the section that you've all been waiting for, player power rankings. So, as usual, we have our top 10, followed by our honorable mentions. Jordan, you want to start with the honorable mentions from bottom to top?
Sure. Oh, I get to say my own name. At the top of honorable mentions, we have EPT Hopper, followed by myself, Jordan MG, followed by Super Sub Based Inc., which is hilarious that being 3-0 on 3 different teams subbing, that's amazing. Then we have Lasagna at 2-2 and Nice Jules Owl at 3-1.
Yeah,
I recognize all those names. Good for them.
Base has only been on 2 teams, I'm pretty sure. I think she subbed for F12 twice, if I'm not mistaken.
She subbed for us once.
Subbed for you once. Okay, so it's 3 different teams then.
That's three different teams.
Just every week, sub for somebody else.
It's funny.
If the MVP as a sub, that'd be amazing. You just win every week.
Her only request was that she gets handed decks. That was it. Just give her a lineup, she'll play it, and she'll do her best.
Yeah, she's good at it. Yeah, she's good at that.
Yeah, and it worked out.
For sure.
So, Fish, who do we have as our top 10 then?
All right, so for our top 10, we start off with the Pillager man himself, Maxi Bond 1234, sitting with 3.05. Number 9, Martian Boo, with a 3.18. 3-1 records for both of them. Rear Cat at 3-0, 3.38. At 7, we have Corbett with a 3.42. Next up, we have our usual host, Hyperin, at a 3.81. Now we get into our top 5. We have Nops at 3-0 with a 3.9. And then we have Ataraxial, 3.96. So we're getting very close to that 4 mark, which we get here at number 3 with Ataraxial, 4.04 in the PPR or PAR. Followed in our top 2, we have Bone Masher, which this is a massive jump of a 0.9, where he's at 4.93 with a 3-1. And then our number 1 is 6J at 4-0, 5.49, sitting on the defending champs team. So congratulations to all of these players for making the power rankings. Obviously, if you continue your winning ways, you will continue to be on this list.
Crazy to be like 1.5 above third place is first place when the numbers are this small.
I know, it's so big. It's such a huge leap.
It's a huge percentage jump.
Yeah, he must be winning a lot of matches with not losing.
Winning a lot of matches in the 1 seed against good opponents.
Yeah, taking a lot of games and not losing a lot of games. So
actually, the way this works is it takes your opponent's game win rate.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So he's playing a lot of good opponents.
Yes, based on your opponent's game win rate, you get an expected win rate as the average player. And based on however many more points you achieve compared to what the average expected number of points against those opponents is, you get a score.
It makes sense. Just based
So
on how good your wins are.
yeah, in theory, Jay got 5.5 more points than he is expected to against his opponents,
Mm-hmm.
making it extremely impressive. So really, just already in 4 weeks, having over a point, or even just close to a point, one extra point per week
Yeah.
for your team is huge, because that adds up, and that means you get more wins, and it contributes way more. Okay, this is how you get playoffs. Players like this
Mm-hmm.
get you into playoffs.
Definitely.
So, and with that, this week we're not going to be doing match preview. As you all know, Thursday deadline means no screenshots to preview. So we're just going to skip to our final section, our question of the week. So this is actually related to something that happened today. As we know, there were few nerfs and a ton of buffs, 3 nerfs and 17 buffs, I believe. So it's a lot of card changes. We know that nerfs always have some sort of impact, more often than not in Wild, because if a card is busted in Standard, odds are it's seeing play in Wild too. Question now, though, how much do these buffs, these 17 buffs, impact the formats? More specifically, do these buffs encourage new archetypes? Jordan, we can start with you if you want.
Sure. I think there's maybe a little bit of semantics debate in terms of like what's new, but I think generally probably not. Like when you like look at a lot of the buffs, right? They're buffing like Murloc Warlock, Curse Warlock, things of that. Those type and like Beast Hunter, like they're buffing specific archetypes. So like maybe that's encouraging new archetypes, but really it kind of feels like they're just buffing currently existing bad archetypes. But there are some cards, maybe like the Needle and like other more flexible cards, maybe even Serpent Wing, that could kind of encourage new archetypes because they're not as pigeonholed to one archetype. So like in a general sense, maybe buffs encourage new archetypes, but a lot of times in Hearthstone they're just buffing current archetypes that already exist, right?
Right. So let me clarify that just for the sake of the question.
Sure.
Do you think that these buffs will make these, underpowered archetypes playable in the format right now?
Oh, interesting.
Yes. I
don't
consider them
think-
new because they had not seen play before or in a very long time. So in a sense, they're quote unquote new.
I think Wild Pawn Knoll and maybe Tooth and Nefarian have a chance to like make a splash, but like you're still playing Pirate Rogue probably over those cards. I don't think any of the Hunter Priest cards have a chance. Maybe Priest is like the only one that has a chance, actually, now that I think about it. Like 1 mana from 2 is a huge buff, right? But needs a deck. Yeah, I think some of the cards have a chance, but most of them don't have any chance. I'm excited to see if Wild Pawn Knoll works out in Wild, Tooth and Nefarian, Serpent Wig, and Shadowcloth Needle. Those are like the big 4 that I'm curious about. I think the rest are just bad cards that are still bad.
Fair enough. Fish?
I don't really know. I mean, we saw Murloc Warlock feature. Do I think that the buffs will make it more playable and potentially breach a tier, like breach the lowest tier on like the Tempo Storm snapshot? Probably not. I think the Shadowcloth Needle buff might help Shadow Priest, but I feel like that deck has other underlying things that makes it not as played right now, or other decks that just kind of hold it back from being as strong as it once was. But I guess my optimism tells me the priest cards might make some form of might make the aggro priest a little better. I don't really have a good sense for everything else though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Completely fair. It's really, really hard to say.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, it isn't a
Right
shadow
now,
spell.
we're seeing a lot of experimentation with these new cards or these new buffs cards, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on there. I don't know if we're going to see the same thing in WoW to that extent at first. It's possible that there could be one or two new decks. Priest, obviously, like we mentioned, has a chance. Serpent Wig is really cool. +1, +2 adds up, especially if you can discount it. I might not see play right away, but there's some potential, especially if you could tutor it and abuse it over and over. It's basically like Leap of Wisdom, but much easier to activate in a sense if you build around it. Um, Other things, the Curse Warlock. There were already some people bringing it in Wild. I think the deck is still very far from something, but even just a stat bump can make a card playable, and sometimes that can help other archetypes as well
Yeah.
in some sort of combo. And we know that Wild doesn't really need that many cards to push an archetype over the top and make it viable. Okay, the Murloc cards, they didn't even make the cut in Murloc Warlock 4. They're not going to make the cut now.
I figured.
Don't think there's going to be any difference there. But I do think there could be something down the line with, some of these buff cards. So
I'm
I
curious,
will.
as a former aggro demon hunter enjoyer, do you think we ever take Drek out and put this Colossus that now deals 8 instead of 4 into our deck? 8's
Way
kind
too
of a
slow
lot.
for Wild. Way
Okay.
too slow for Wild.
That's
We're gonna have
that's
to.
fair.
Yeah, we have to take that deck back to the drawing board and figure out if we want to keep Drek or not first, and then go from there. There's a very powerful shell there, but we're gonna have to build it differently at this point. And depending on how we build it, will determine whether the deck can survive in the format or not. It's going to take a bit to figure that out. And with that, that wraps up our show. A bit shorter than usual, given the lack of weekly previews this time. But there's a lot to really go through. I know a lot of people are excited with the update, so highly recommend going back and playing. Just want to thank Fish for operating and Jordan for being here, joining. Always great to have different guests on. Fish, we'll start with you. Any final words?
No. Obviously, we're gonna have match shows throughout the weekend. I know we have matches scheduled for tomorrow. We have at least one match for Saturday, and we have stuff for Sunday. So just be on the lookout for announcements in the Discord about upcoming content. That's all I got.
Nice. Jordan, any final words?
Keep on keeping on, gamers. A lot of Wild to play, a lot of games to play.
Yep. Something tells me we're going to see some more Naga Priest this week in both formats.
That'd be
But we'll have
interesting.
to wait and see.
We will.
Well, thanks again, everyone. See you next week. Take care.